Good morning, tiny people. This is a COVID-19 production in association with Sad Eeyore Productions. All right, folks, here we go. A history lesson or two. Now, let me explain something to you. I had this great, wonderful program set for you about the Battle of Gettysburg and the end of the siege at Vicksburg, and it would have been long, and it would have contained all kinds of details, and I thought, you know what? You're supposed to have Monday off, and you do have this quiz coming up Tuesday. There's not a lot I can do about that, but I didn't have to dump a whole lot of more information on you. So this is going to be a really short amount of material for you to have your next quiz on, and that's my little gift to you. Anyway, let's get going here. This is testable material. This is a real history lesson dealing with, I don't know, life in the past. Wow, go figure. I want to show you a few things here. They're lying around in my house. This is a quilt made by my wife's grandmother. Now imagine all that hand stitching that went into that thing. And it's a beautiful piece of art, and it's also, over 80 years old. It's a big deal. It's an old thing. Now my mother, she could sew, but she liked to sew different kinds of things. This is a farm family that she sewed, and she had all kinds of interesting takes on how you make this. Is called soft sculpture. That was one of her hobbies. She did a lot of other things, but those were kind of cool little ideas. Anyway, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you a few things from my past, and I want you to understand exactly what importance they had. Not just for me. I'm talking about things that were used commonly in the United States from the time I was born, sometimes a little bit even before. You've asked me previously about that picture that hangs up on my wall. Well, I have another one at home, the same thing. This is a picture, that's reflecting back into the camera. Sorry, guys, I'm not quite sure what I can do with that. But this fella here is my grandfather. I never knew him. I never met him. He died before I was born. But he owned the blacksmith shop in White River Junction, Vermont. And this photograph, which I really wish you could see without the reflection of the camera, but this photograph is just crystal clear. And it was made way back in the 1920s, my mother tells me. And these were a couple of other fellows that worked for him. And this is right outside the blacksmith shop. And you'll notice some of these fun details like, let's see here. The speed limit is 8 miles per hour. And they did make one little mistake. You can see the back door still open there. But this is crystal clear. It was a traveling photographer because people couldn't afford a camera back then. So these traveling photographers would go throughout the countryside and they would take people's pictures. I took that over to a camera shop and had it blown up because the original, which one of my sisters has, is about this big. And when I had it blown up, they didn't have to doctor it at all. Remember, this is a camera from the 1920s, and the guy at Mike Crivella's camera shop said this must have been the finest piece of equipment available in that day and age. I have a couple other things. What's this? Yes, it's a horseshoe, size 11.5 wide. Yeah, not really. But it is a horseshoe because my grandfather was a blacksmith. I got this little piece of equipment too. I would think about using this on Max Loomis's nose, but this is for holding some of the metal objects that he was pounding. He'd grab the horseshoe with this and pound away with his hammer on top of the anvil. I do have the anvil. It's out in Vermont right now. I'm going to go pick that up hopefully this summer. Now, how would somebody go about cleaning out the rug, the quilt or whatever? Not a washing machine. It would fall apart if you did that too often. This is a rug beater. Yeah, there you go. Again, this one I would like to use on, I don't know, probably Grace Miller. So, get the child a little discipline there. But that's how you knock the dust out of rugs in the olden days. How would you get people in? Call them for dinner. You'd have your triangle. See, they didn't have phones not in their pockets, so you couldn't page anybody, you couldn't text anybody or tweet or whatever you guys do. I'm old, I don't do these things. So what they'd have to do is just go out in the backyard and bang the heck out of one of these, and the kids could hear it wherever they were playing. That's another thing that's changed drastically. Nowadays, kids have to stay so close to home. It seems like it's become so much more a dangerous world. I don't know if it has, but I do know that we used to, my generation, go far away from home. The rule simply was, hey, if you are playing, go away, come back for lunch, and you better be on time, and then come back for dinner, and you better be on time. And one more thing, and that is if you get to go out after dinner, then you come back when the street lights come on. And that was it. We roamed all over the place, and our parents didn't think anything of it. You know, speaking of hobbies and abilities and such, let me see if I can do this. Can't really see if this is showing it, so I'm hoping. These little objects were made as a gift for my mother by her father, my grandfather, the blacksmith I just showed you. These are a tiny set of blacksmithing tools. Now, the cool part about that is that he took his giant hands and those giant tools, and he managed to put together these delicate little objects. And I think that's a fascinating and incredible skill there. So anyway, you have two little horseshoes, and you have three sets of the tongs. Now, just so you can put this in scale, here are the real tongs. Here are the bigger tongs, medium tongs, tiny tongs, and these do work. They operate. Imagine somebody who works in this kind of metal being able to do this, that kind of fine craftsmanship. Okay, it's going to take me a second just to get these away so I can move on to the next object I want to show you. Here we go. We're back again. Now, let's talk entertainment moving up a few years until when I was a child. Let's go with this would be the late 50s. I was a little tiny guy. The 60s was my basic childhood, into the 70s when I graduated from high school, went on to college. Well, I showed you that wonderful picture before. This is the way we took pictures when I was a kid. A little pocket camera like this. No phones, no instant. What a person had to do here was there's a little latch on the side, and it popped open the back. And you bought a roll of film, and you put the film in here. Now, the trick was the film came in sealed little canisters, and if the canister broke open, or if you pulled out too much of the film, once it was exposed to light, it was gone. The pictures wouldn't take. There'd be nothing on there. Then, if you wanted to have a flash, no just turning it on, you had to go out and buy a flash cube. This has got 4 sides to it, and it fits right in the top of this so that I can flip it around and it'll shoot with the flash. Then it'll turn after that one's used up so I can have another one. But there may be 12 or 24 pictures in here. I only get 4 pictures with a flash cube. What did you end up having? Oh, I hope you can see this. I'm going to hold it near my white shirt. A negative. I don't know if you can see anything in there. Let me move over towards the light. I don't think that does any good. But if you could see, there's a picture of a small boy with a dog near my thumb standing out on the road. Oops. This is kind of hard to do, this reverse stuff. What's up is down, what's down is up, left is right, right is left when I'm facing the camera like this. Okay. That's what you'd get back so you could have other prints made. But this is what happened with the film that had been in the camera. What'd they do to spend a little bit of time? Roller skating was big. How about these babies? You guys are used to inline skates, or scooters are big again. I see out here, at least where I live in Hartford. And bicycles are nice, but they were kind of pricey. So what, in fact, a person would get was a pair of roller skates. These are a set of roller skates. They would open up. Oh, I need my key. You'd get a key with a set of roller skates. and kids would hang it around their necks, and that way they wouldn't lose them. They'd always have their key there because you would loosen up the nut on the side. Then you could open it and make it fit onto your shoe. Once it fit onto your regular shoe, you locked it tight again. That was your size. It was clipped on. There'd be a little strap in the back that would go up over a kid's ankle, and that would hold them on. These are just metal wheels. There's no suspension here, no soft landing. You really pounded the pavements when you roller skated. I know what you guys are interested in. You guys are interested in music. So what kind of music did we have then? Well, basically, we had, let me see if I can get this down here again. The champion for a long while was the AM FM radio. I'll put my skate box behind it. The AM FM radio, carried this around, pulled the antenna up because everything came over the air from satellite, or not from satellites like you guys have it. It came over the air from just towers around. And I know there are cell towers, but a lot of the time, it's an amazing world you live in. You send a call out, and it bounces to a satellite and bounces back again. And here's the crazy thing. You might be talking to mom 6 blocks away. Your call might have gone 20,000 miles. So it really is an amazing world you live in. Here, it just came from the tower somewhere in Milwaukee. We picked it up on the antenna. It had AM and FM and received, well, the AM stuff was the crazy hippie stuff. And then the FM stuff was the crazy hippie stuff. And the AM, well, that was for the good guys. That was pop music. I spent a whopping 49 cents on the next generation of music. That would be 8-track tapes. Woo, baby. They found these things. This is an 8-track. 8-track stereo cartridge. You put this thing into a hole in the dashboard of your car or in your 8-track player, and it would play. It's just a piece of tape that is recorded there in 8 tracks. And it was really hard to find the song you wanted. You might skip along quite a bit, and it was hard to do. You could go between tracks, but it wasn't a very practical way of delivering music. You'd have to listen kind of to the whole album. And I know that's not something you guys think of because you get to choose exactly what song you want to hear, exactly when you want to hear it. I don't know. I think it's crazy the way you guys get to do that. I think it's wonderful, but I think it's crazy. Okay, gone with the 8-track. Out comes the cassette. The cassette tape was smaller, and it could be turned over to have tracks on both sides. So this has got about a half a dozen songs on this side. You'd pull it out of the machine, turn it over, put it in, half a dozen on the other side. Again, it's just a small piece of magnetic tape that plays inside your tape recorder. Well, let's get along. Other improvements. Dun, dun. The compact disc, the CD. Now, you may even have a few of these lying around the house. Their time has almost come and are almost gone. It's probably not a CD you have. It's probably more like a DVD that's got video on it also. These were just music. That was one way of delivering it. So we got all this information to pack up. Ooh, but the computer age headed toward us. You guys ever heard the term floppy disk? This is an actual floppy disk, okay? It is not this thing. This was the next generation. The floppy disk is literally floppy. It fit into the very first of the computers. Ooh. What kind of good stuff did they have? Look at that. Algebra plotter. Ooh, with a demo. Yeah. That sounds like fun stuff. What else do we have? On these, you could record a few songs, very little. This held probably 10 times what the floppy disk did. Then along came thumb drives. Had these bad boys. They came in a variety of styles, little pack. You could pull it out, but always it inserted into the side of the computer. Sometimes it was as simple as, oops, whoop, pushing it out. Get that? I can do this. Pushing it out, getting it so that it fit inside the computer. All right. What else did we have? I have just two more things to show you. The first one is got nothing to do with what I've been talking about. It's just something I want you to understand for our Civil War studies. And that is, what did people eat? Nowadays, the military has things called MREs, meals ready to eat. Before this, they had K rations and C rations and different things from different wars. But it's always been necessary for the military to feed their people. So, this is an MRE, a meal ready to eat. Let me show you what's in here. Go ahead. Oh, this is cheese spread with jalapenos. This is beverage base with cherry flavor. Let's see, we got some gum in here, some tiny Tabasco sauce. You got sugar, matches, salt, and pepper, because, heavens knows guys like Jordan Deek have to smoke, so they need their matches. Let's see, what else have we got here? This is beef enchiladas in sauce. It even gives you the nutrition information. Hot diggity. What else have we got that we really need here? Mexican rice. Yeah, not bad. This is one of my son's favorites when he was in the Army, was the beef enchiladas. And what do we got here? Ooh, a chocolate chip cookie, which enough generations of kids have handled now that it's no longer a chocolate chip cookie, it's chocolate chip crumbs. Ooh, this looks like... Boom, boom, boom. This is the way to heat the meal, which is really kind of an interesting thing. It allows them to heat the meal without having a fire. And finally, some vegetable crackers. Nothing better than a good round of vegetable crackers. All right. So there you have a few things from the past. Just thought you'd want to learn about those, get the opportunity. Now let me show you, we'll go way back. We'll go back to the dawning age of radio and the dawning age of electronic music. But first we have to go back to the other room. So here comes the tour. Ooh. This is kind of fun. Kind of scary. I know. You would rather I had worn a mask. Oh, that's really funny. Okay. This, my friends, I can get it in here. This, dun dun, is a record player. Yep. Oh, it's old. It's an old record player. Let's take a peek. Down below, lots of records. Mostly 78s. That means 78 revolutions per minute, 78 RPM. When I was growing up, the two most common kinds were a 33 RPM, which was the great big record albums. You might have seen one or two of. And then there were 45s, which were little tiny guys. The interesting thing about this particular piece of equipment is it goes back. Sorry, guys, I'm doing a terrible job of holding this. It goes back to before electricity was common. You want to play this puppy? Open the top. I got to stick it so it stays up. Now, I have to go around here and wind it. Yep, it's all just run on a spring. Then, I release the little brake here, and the turntable starts to go. Let it get up to speed a little bit. There's a small needle on here, and that's what picks the sound up off the disc. Well, come on. Sorry. Hit it a bit too hard there. Didn't have it fully extended. Oh, she's not wanting to work for me this morning. I got to hold the brake. It keeps flipping. Oh, sure. Now it's going to get stuck. No, it's not doing anything good for me today. As you can tell, they must have had a lot of problems with these things. But this was the best they had. Before this, if you wanted music, it had to be live music. There wasn't any choice. All right, tiny people. We're going to call it at that. I hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic weekend. Hasta la vista, babies.